But a lot of trial and error could have been saved if I would have started first with the 1-1 to really understand, like, who do I really wanna help? Who do I really wanna serve? Like, how do I wanna do this? And then built all of these things around it because you have to have that really, really solid foundation in your first ideas, your first transformation, even, like, with your content and stuff. Like, I started producing all this content, and I didn't even know, like, what a niche was. I'm like, how
Mhm.
much time I wasted thinking of all these things that could have been fixed.
Welcome to the Confident Mompreneur Podcast, where you can find solid advice along with warm guidance on motherhood, business, relationships, health, wellness, and everything you need to help add to your confidence and zest for life. And with interesting guests from all around the world, you'll hear real and relatable stories with impact and nuggets of wisdom to help you or the mompreneur meet the challenges of life with clarity and success. Now let's welcome your mompreneur host, Carrie Blaney.
Well, welcome on this morning, Whitney. I'm so glad to have you here.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. So excited to help our fellow mompreneurs.
Yes, I was so excited when Whitney reached out to me on Instagram. She's the Bold Mama Co. And she just reached out to me and just had this vibe that I was like, oh my gosh, we're totally gonna get along.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. I definitely try to be very authentic on my social media. Like that's something I talk a lot about. Is like I don't even always use my social media for like all of these followers and stuff, but I want someone when they come to my page to be like, "Oh, I feel like I already know this girl." So when I do coach them or when I help them in a different way, they're like, "Okay, this is the same person that I know on social media as in like real life." Because
Mhm.
I feel like so much of social media is just so
Curated.
curated. Yes, perfect word. I'm still really pregnant right now and I'm like I have brain
The
problems.
brain fog.
But yeah, I just love when people like find me and they're like, "Oh my God, you're so authentic. You actually respond." I'm like, "Yes." Like I don't know. I just love that part because it is hard to find people that have that vibe that you can just connect with over there and feel like they're going to be the same person when you talk to them.
Right. Yeah. It is so hard. And I feel like it can be hard as a content creator to know how to
Yeah.
kind of create that, too. Especially because we see so much curated stuff. It's like, how do I connect with people authentically? But before we get too far into that, let's just actually have you introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, your family, all of the good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Whitney Gardner. I am currently living in Texas. I am married to a wonderful husband. I have a daughter that is 2, and I am currently 30 weeks pregnant with another girl. So, we are going to be having a lot of change very soon. And what else? I love my family. I love like working out, staying healthy, staying active. That's like a huge passion of mine. Been really into cooking this pregnancy, which I never thought I would do because my husband was like the chef always. So now I'm really into cooking and what else do I love to do? I love to shop, love to just get out, have a nice lunch. But a lot of things are changing since we moved to Texas because now we're in the country. So it's just everything's like a drive and it's different. But
Hmm.
besides personal stuff, I love my business. My business is my third child. Like I am obsessed with growing my business, with talking about business, with helping moms with their business. Just constantly like listening to podcasts, reading, learning, trying to just figure out how to grow this freaking business. And it's something I want to do for a very long time. And I am a coach, a speaker, and a podcaster, all to help mompreneurs grow and build their online businesses. So it's so fun because I originally started in the personal development niche, but as I got further and further into business, I just realized how much I loved business and loved talking about business and helping people with their businesses. So I was like, well, let's re-niche again and help moms with their businesses. And it's just been so great. And I find it just so rewarding and so fun. And I just wake up every day with such a passion to help people.
I love that. I think that's so awesome. And it's so funny that you say you re-niched because I feel like I've re-niched throughout my like online business career
Yeah.
multiple times.
Yes, it is definitely a journey. And that's something I talk to a lot of people about is like, it's good to stick with something for like 3 to 6 months, see if you like it. If you want to change, you can change, which is the cool thing. It's sometimes we forget like we are the boss and we can do whatever we want. And people are always like, I'm afraid to change my mind. Like, what will people think and stuff? And in the beginning, especially, I'm like, I don't think anyone was even paying attention to what I was doing.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm glad I got all that experimenting out of the way before stuff actually started to grow.
Yeah.
So then now I'm like in it, but yeah, people are paying less attention than you probably think if you're like open to changing your mind. And it's really about following like what you're passionate about and what you genuinely want to share, because rebuilding a little bit in the beginning is like worth it for like a longer term success like later on, and really building your brand around what you really want to do.
Well, and like we were talking about earlier, if you build an authentic business that's centered
Right.
around you, your people are going to follow you no matter what you're doing or kind of what niche you go into. They'll be.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And that's a really good point of like showing your real life and your real self and like what you're going through like on your social media and through your content, through your podcast and whatever avenues you use, because like you said, like building a brand is really centered around you. So when you're solid in your own like identity and authenticity and confidence, like people just will follow you, debating, well, just, and then you'll be able to find more people later on, depending on your niche, like when they're like searching for things that they need your help with and whatnot. But in the beginning, at least, it's a great start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, how long ago did you start kind of your online brand, and what was it like for you as you got started, and what are some of the things that you wish you would have known about starting an online brand when you got into it?
I love this question. So good. So it's been about a year and maybe 3 months now since I even had the idea. So I actually had the idea once we realized, so we had just bought a house in California, and under a year we decided to move to Texas.
Jeez.
And yeah, it was fast. And everything in my marriage and with my babies and everything is just fast, but it's all good. I love it. But lots of change constantly. So we decided to move. And when we decided to move, I was like, oh my God, I think I can quit my 9 to 5. And I was in finance in San Diego. And I'm like, okay, I think I can quit. And I think I could do whatever I want. And I had a podcast back in 2020 called Words with Wit. And it was all around like personal development for women at the time. And I was like, okay, I still have my microphone. What are we going to do with it? Maybe I'll get it back out, start it working again. And so I originally started with a blog because I read all these successful mommy bloggers that were out there. So I built like a WordPress website. I got a blog up and running. And then I was like, started digging into the online space, being like, wow, there's so much money to be made. And I could be doing so many other things other than just having a blog, because a blog is great. But clearly I'm very social. I'm very outgoing. I love talking to people. Like, want to do my podcast. I'm like, okay, there's so many different avenues I could go down. So I really started the blog, was like, no, I don't really want to do that. And then I found out about coaching, started building that side, and then started my podcast up and running again. And then also in between, started working with like a speaker bureau to figure out my public speaking route, like long term as well for exposure. And so it kind of just magically came together, but at the same time it's been a lot of like trial and error, like day to day, trying to figure out like where I want to go with it. And it's always an evolution, but right now I'm really happy with where I'm at, building my podcast, building my coaching business around my podcast, and then having the in-person speaking this year as well after I have my baby. So yeah, a lot of evolution. And then some
Lots
of
of
the things,
evolution and lots of like
yes,
just like personal changes while you're going through
yes,
business changes and everything. That's usually
yes.
how it goes.
And then I think you asked, like, what do I wish I would have known when I first
Mhm.
started everything? Honestly, the biggest thing that I wish I would have known is to build a one-on-one coaching business first and really get everything solidified around that idea and that transformation and that ideal customer. And before jumping into a podcast again, before building an online community, before doing all this stuff, because as things changed with my stuff throughout, like I joined DCA, I did an Instagram course, I did this, I did that. But a lot of trial and error could have been saved if I would have started first with the 1-1 to really understand, like, who do I really want to help? Who do I really want to serve? Like, how do I want to do this? And then built all of these things around it, because you have to have that really, really solid foundation in your first ideas, your first transformation. Even like with your content and stuff, like I started producing all this content and I didn't even know like what a niche was. I'm like, how much time I wasted, thinking of all these things that could have been fixed. And now I'm like redoing my podcast again, kind of, um, because now I'm helping online mompreneurs. But in the beginning, it wasn't like that at all. So it's like you just are going to save yourself a lot of time and energy and effort if you get that really solid foundation first with like at least a business plan of like, okay, this is the one thing I want to start with. And then once you're like solid in that, then start doing all this other stuff. So then you don't have to redo all this other stuff later on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. It's very interesting because like as I'm switching, like I've kind of been in the same niche for several years, and so my podcast was very focused on like mompreneurs and things. And now my, kind of personal brand is switching, and it's like, I don't know if I like keep this going the same or if I switch things up or whatever. So it's kind of interesting just to kind of walk through that yourself. But I do think it's really important what you said about like sometimes we don't know what we don't know until we get
100%.
into something. And once we get into it, like we may have this idea of like who our ideal client is going to be and what their problems are going to be. But we don't actually know until we start doing something and putting the action in to actually meet with these people and actually hear what their problems are, because sometimes what we think isn't what's actually going on.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And even like looking back at my journey, like my first 2 testimonial clients were all mompreneurs, and I didn't even realize it until I looked back and I was like, huh, all the guests on my podcast are mompreneurs. All the people I've already helped are mompreneurs. Like maybe there's a theme here of me helping mompreneurs. And so it's interesting, like I just loved what you said about putting in the action, just starting somewhere, because you're not going to know until you start. And evolution is kind of just part of the entrepreneurial journey. Like I don't really know many people who have like started from day one with the thing that they went on to do for like years and years, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, just starting somewhere, taking some action and seeing what feels good to you, like this was a really big topic I talked about in a mastermind the other day, was like all about the fact of like when you put out content, it's not necessarily for the audience. I think it's more for yourself to see how you feel about it. How do you like your page? Like, do you feel like you're attracting the right people? Are you happy with it? Does it make you feel good on the inside? And like all of those types of things, more than like looking for that outside validation. Like, is this niche going to work? Like, are people resonating with it? Because I feel like once you start really like realizing what you want to do and putting that out there, people will be like more attracted to that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Have you seen the trend that's been going around lately where you like take a picture of your Instagram feed and give it to
Oh
Chat
gosh.
GPT?
No.
Oh my gosh. So
Did you do it?
I did do it,
Oh my God.
and you can
Tell me
tell
what
it to be
happened.
mean to you, and it's even better. It's
What?
so funny.
No
Um,
way.
and it's kind of interesting just to see like if I were an I know nothing about you, like you can even like cut off your like bio and just put like the picture portion of your Instagram feed in there, kind of like what it picks up on and what it thinks is interesting or what some of the recurring themes through your, you know, your Instagram feed are. So it was
What? Okay, so
kind
what
of
did you
interesting.
type into the chat box?
So I love ChatGPT, just in case you're wondering.
I do too. I'm
all
obsessed
the
with like
time.
AI stuff. I think it's really cool, but you also have to know how to use it. But I took like a really good course on AI and it's been it was like really, really helpful. Like if you use it right, it can be so freaking helpful.
Oh yeah, it's so good. Okay, here we go. My
I'm like so curious
Instagram
to do this.
feed. So I just like took a picture of my Instagram feed, which you can like put in to
Okay.
the chat GPT, right? And then I just said, what's your first impression of my Instagram feed? And so then it tells me your Instagram feed gives off a strong, empowering vibe. It's a mix of motivational messages, personal reflections, and glimpses into your life experiences, all centered around themes of resilience, self-acceptance, and advocacy. Bold text and vibrant images captures attention and reinforces the positive, uplifting messages. The content seems to be aimed at inspiring others, particularly women, to embrace their strength, overcome challenges, and prioritize their mental and emotional well-being. It feels authentic and intentional, creating a space for connection and encouragement. And then I told it to
Wow.
be mean. And
Oh my
it
God.
says, if I had to be critical, I'd say your feed might come across as a bit repetitive in its messaging. While the motivational quotes and personal reflections are powerful, the consistent format could also start to blend together, making individual posts less impactful. You might benefit from mixing up types of posts, include more behind-the-scenes glimpses or interactive content to break up the rhythm and keep your audience more engaged. And then I asked it to give me examples of interactive content that I could use, and it came up with a whole bunch of options.
Wow.
Isn't that so interesting?
Yes. Okay, so I just did mine too because I was like, okay, I have to do this live now.
Yes, do it. I love it.
We have to do this now. I said, what is your first impression of my feed for mompreneurs? Your Instagram feed immediately gives off a relatable and authentic vibe, which is crucial for mompreneurs. Here are some impressions: engaging visuals. You have a mix of visuals, screenshots, videos, candid shots that make you feel approachable, clear messaging, personal connection, value-driven content, and consistency. Overall, your feed effectively communicates that you're an expert who understands the challenges of mompreneurs and that you're there to help them navigate their journey. Hey, that's better than I thought it was going to be.
That's perfect. See? It got you.
Okay, so now I'm going to tell it
exactly
to
what
be
you
mean
want.
to me.
Yeah, tell it to be mean too.
Okay, now
Hanson.
be mean and give me critiques. This is so fun. I did not think we were going to do this on this episode, and I'm like, this stuff is so fun. Okay, let's see what it gives me here. We're going to let that load.
Well, I just think
God,
it's
that's
funny
hilarious.
because if you're wondering like what kind of like vibe or like what your Instagram content is like saying about you, this is so helpful.
That actually was like a lot of what I was trying to do, you know?
Yeah.
Because I used to make my feed like super perfect with like
Right.
the screenshot with like the text over it and blah blah blah. Now I'm just like I just throw stuff up there. I'm like whatever, and it seemed to like it though. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that's a lot of like what I want is like I literally was talking about like relatable and authentic because I want people to come to me and be like, oh, this is a video of her actually just like talking and like explaining something and not super curated. Like a lot of times I don't wear makeup and it's just like that's just kind of my daily vibe. And honestly, right now being so pregnant, I feel like my sparkle's like a little dim and I'm like, okay. And I just, I'm just still trying to show up and give value and do what I need to do and not really worry about it. Whoa, it's like really going in on my even like 10 things. Okay, visual overload. It looks a bit cluttered. Lack of cohesive branding, different styles, lighting. That's weird because I use like a lot of the same colors. Repetitive content, text placement, too much self. Ugh. Okay, that's interesting. Lack of strong CTAs, overuse of filters. I don't use any filters, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Audio clarity, engagement issues. Huh, this is so interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna dive into this one
Sometimes
when we get
like
off.
the critical side of it, I'm like, I kind of want repetitive messaging because I want to like dig into the things that I think are really
Yeah.
important.
No, I
So
agree
it's
for
kind of
sure.
interesting to see, but you don't have to take it as like total
Mhm.
truth either. It's just
Yeah.
interesting.
Super interesting. Okay, that was really fun. That was a fun little side tangent we got in.
Sorry, I just was thinking about it
No,
because we
I
were
love
talking
it.
about like
I
what
love it.
vibes you give off and how to like
Yeah, right? That's so
create.
cute. That was such a good idea. Now I'm so excited
Yeah.
when people, okay, you guys need to go and do it now.
Yeah,
And
now
then
everybody
message
needs
us or tag us in it and let us know like what your thing told you.
Yeah. I I think it's so funny and it's been like this trend going on, but I'm also like as a business owner, this is kind of helpful to get some like critical feedback on like what is the vibe and things that I'm putting out there. And it kind of hit both of us like right on top of the head, which is great, which means that we have that good consistent kind of branding and marketing that we're putting out there. But like when you're starting, what are some of the things that you can do to make sure that you have that good, consistent branding and marketing that really draws the right people into you?
Yeah, this is honestly something I'm still kind of working on because as you re-niche, you kind of have to figure it out. But my favorite things to do are honestly to create like content pillars, like have like 3 or 4 different content pillars around like what some of your main stories are related to the offers that you're selling, what are like based off your personal transformation if you don't have testimonial clients, including like testimonial clients, like what kind of transformations have they gotten? Um, there's a lot of different options. Like some people are really into like mom humor type formats. Like there's like the formats that you could do, and then also like the content pillars like within those formats. Like say you're in the fitness niche, like talking about like your lifestyle and what you do like day to day, but then also maybe like your gym routine. And then also, so there's different types of content that you could sprinkle in, but I think deciding like 4 main content pillars are really crucial. And then you hear a lot about like mixing in like educational type content where you're actually like teaching somebody something to know that you are the expert. That's what I do a lot of like how-to videos. And then I'll mix in like these are actual stories about my like real life or what's going on, or like what do you think of this thing that is going on? Like do you agree with it? And then I like when you're first starting, these are just some of the things to think about at least including like because you want to be seen as the expert, you want to be seen as relatable, so maybe even like digging deep into yourself, like how do you want to be seen on your feed and in your content, like what kind of clients do you want to attract? Like I want to attract clients that are like interested to learn more information, that want to be my friend, that want to feel like they have somebody that genuinely supports them. I get empowering a ton. Like that's like a very big buzzword for me, is like I help people feel empowered. Like how does that work for you? I do throw in some like mom humor again to feel like relatable, to grow. So it just kind of depends, but I would say getting that like those content pillars with at least like things that you're excited about sharing and making them related to your first offer, or at least like those first few clients who you're trying to target and help. Because obviously there's a lot that we could share about our life stories and experiences, but that is so overwhelming. I like to tie everything back into like either the offer that I'm currently creating or whatever I'm doing. So then it's like I'm a little more niche into the type of content that I'm sharing, but then I share all of these different styles and ways to um like make it cohesive. And I really like to repurpose too. So I'll
Mm.
do like a training episode once a week on my podcast. And then that podcast theme, I'll post it into like how to do this into Facebook groups. I'll repost it as a carousel. I'll do like a reel about it. And so it's like just making it simple for yourself, like at least come up with like one main idea for the week as an example. And then like how can you repurpose that so you're not like trying to come up with multiple new ideas every day. At least you have like a theme for the week about like what you want to teach or how you want to help somebody or what kind of result you want to give.
Well, and I think people get like really nervous, I guess, about like reusing content or
Mhm.
like, having basically the same thing in several different places. But
Yeah.
I think what people don't realize is like the same people that see it on like Facebook are probably not going to be the same people that see it on Instagram. Like the people that are liking my post on Facebook are usually not the same people that's liking it on Instagram. So you
Mhm.
want to be able to like kind of cater to all of your different audiences. And even if some people do see it in the same like places, because I always like just have all of my posts automatically go to both my Facebook and my Instagram,
Yeah, me too.
like they're not really gonna care that much, I promise. Like it's not a
No.
big deal as we kind of make it out to be in our heads.
Not at all. And the algorithms are all so different. And like even as a user thinking about it, like I think it's pretty rare that I will see somebody's thing on like multiple of their pages. Like I don't even notice. I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, 100% like you should be saying the same thing like multiple times when you're getting your messaging down in the like beginning parts, or at least like what you think would be helpful for somebody to like need to know, understand, like believe, to work with you. So I think it's good to be super repetitive, and to test all the different kinds of content, because if you test like this one concept for an example, and then you repurpose it into all these different formats, you can see, okay, based on this one concept, what format worked the best for my audience, what platforms working the best for my audience. Just like you said, when you repurpose, which is kind of why I love it, because it's so interesting to see like what pops off on different platforms, even if I'm using the same style like multiple places, it's
Mhm.
super interesting. um, and overall, as a new online business owner, I always really recommend Facebook, because you know that your ideal clients are already in Facebook groups. So you can start testing and seeing if you have interest based off of what you post in Facebook groups, and build up that personal page for yourself, like sharing different things about your business, all these things that we're talking about content wise.
Mhm.
Um, to just kind of start getting like your name out there and being seen as like that expert. I think that's the easiest way to do it in the beginning. And then once you kind of get that down, then you can start repurposing and experimenting with like TikTok and Instagram. But those platforms can be a lot harder to navigate, and the content to create can be a lot more of a challenge, at least if you are still kind of in that experimental phase in the beginning, keeping it simple.
Yeah. Well, and talking about like repurposing content, I'll go back to like my post from like 6 months ago and just like repost the same thing.
Yeah,
If I'm like,
they say
you
you
know,
totally do that.
yeah, if I'm having a hard time like thinking of content to post or whatever, I will absolutely do that.
Mhm.
I do think it's interesting that you say kind of start on Facebook, because I feel like for a lot of us, Facebook is a place where like, like our moms are at and our grandmas and like that teacher that we knew from high school or whatever. So I feel like for me, Facebook has always been a little bit more scary for me to post my like business or like
Okay,
these
that's
types of
super
things.
interesting. I love this perspective.
I just
Uh,
like have a hard time because I feel like a lot of those people, your family members, your really close friends, or like people you grew up with have a hard time seeing you as an expert in something when they knew you as like this young teenager that was like getting into trouble or whatever. And so
Didn't we all?
you, you knew me drinking at a bonfire
Yeah,
on Saturday
100%.
night when I was like 17, right?
Yeah,
Like, so it's kind
that's
of
so
hard
funny.
for me to then like try to transition into like, hey, I'm a professional. I know what I'm talking about. Like, you should come and talk to me about this. Like, I just feel like it's a lot harder to reach those types of people, which is interesting because you would think that the people closest to you are the ones that support your business the most.
Not
I found
always.
that that's not always the truth.
No. That's very interesting you said that, actually, because that's not even something I thought about, because I've completely scrapped my personal Facebook because it was like too personal.
Yeah.
And I redid I redid all of it and I started from scratch, and I started with just like business people that I had found through like communities that I had been in, like DCA and like visibility group with Susie Moore, and started with just like business contacts. Um so that could be something to consider if you're like nervous about that, like maybe create another account that is just for your business and kind of start over with like pure business connections, or like your ideal client, like who you're trying to serve in Facebook groups, so people don't really have that tie to you of like your past. That's like really interesting you said that, because I've never even thought of that,
Yeah.
because I didn't have my personal page very like I had it for a long time, but then I completely like deleted it and started over.
Yeah, I definitely feel a lot more comfortable in like my business stuff, just like on my Instagram, because I built that to
Mhm.
be kind of that curated space.
Yeah.
Um, when you start posting those things, like I feel like it can be really nerve-wracking, especially if you're posting something like personal about yourself too, in like that kind of curated business space, because you want
Yeah.
people to see you as like this perfect expert in like a certain area. But like you said, authentic is also a very big component of like connecting the right people to you. So how do you do that even when you're like kind of scared to like maybe not be as perfect as you would like to?
Um, you just have to do it. I remember the first time I ever sat down to film content about my business and how freaking scared I was. I'm not even kidding. I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to say. But I also didn't have any sort of mentor at the time. I didn't have anybody to help me with my content. I was just like, well, I'm going to post some videos and see what happens. But it's literally getting over that fear of like hitting the record button, doing it, and then like doing a little bit of editing and getting it out there and just being like, ah. And even when I started doing some like really heavy stuff like into TikTok, like even a few weeks ago, I was talking to my husband. I was like, why am I sweating posting this right now? Like we all go through it. It's just kind of like it's kind of like that risk reward thing. You know, like, is your business something that's important to you enough to like get over your own fear and just like go for it? Because it's all about it. And even now, like, I've been really debating about like, do I post this without makeup on with my glasses on, like in pajamas on the couch? But this is like when this idea came to me, and this is when I was just like thinking about genuinely sharing something with somebody. And I'm like, honestly, yeah, I'm gonna post it because it's like my message is just as good. I'm like super authentic. I'm in the moment. And some of those posts have done way better than when I am perfectly in my makeup with the perfect outfit, teaching like a teacher, but it's all about experimenting too, because
Yeah.
people like different styles and stuff. And it could still change for me in the future. It's not something I have to stick with. But for right now, like when I create content, I honestly feel like even right now with you, I'm pretty relaxed. And I honestly feel like sometimes my ideas flow better because I'm not in that state of like, this has to be perfect right now because I look great and I have to create the perfect videos. Because I feel like those ones honestly never do as well for me. It's like when I'm like half ready with like half an eyeshadow on and I'm like doing a get ready with me, and then this good thing comes into my mind that those people like those kind of things. I don't even know. I'm like,
No.
this is such a tangent right now, but
No,
it's
it
true.
totally
It's
makes
just kind of
sense
like
because
getting over it, like just doing it and getting over it and just practicing and like over and over. Like at this point, I think I have like 200. I just hit my 200 and something real. Like, and I just talked about sweating like 3 weeks ago. And that was still at like real 100 and something. Like we just all go through it, especially when you're going through content changes, and it's okay to be like nervous about it. It's actually good, I think, if you're nervous because you're like invested in what you're doing.
absolutely. I think that's the truth right there, is like you are nervous because you want to succeed and you
100%.
want, people to accept you as you are. And that's kind of scarier than putting out that perfect persona. They can't hurt that. They can hurt you when you're real. And so I think that's what makes it scary. But also, like we were saying, like that's where authentic connection comes from, because you sitting on the couch in your pajamas and no makeup is mompreneurship at its finest. Like that's usually where we are, what we're doing. Like
100%. I cherish my deep work time in the morning,
yeah.
like doing these things, like looking like that. Like I'm not going to get ready to waste time to sit there and do the same thing I'm going to do. And it's just kind of my vibe. And I think I'm just kind of accepting it. Like some days I really feel like getting ready and showing up and like looking great. And some days I just really don't care. And it's probably most days I just really don't care. And even when I come into like different meetings and stuff, I'm just like, yep, this is just me. And it doesn't seem to affect my business. So I'm like, all right.
I'm like,
I'm gonna
I
do what I want
live
to do
in
then.
like yoga pants and sweatshirts or like
Right? We
no
all have our
t-shirts.
style, and it's just good to know that you can own your style. Like it's your business. You can do what you want. Like, of course, I'm not going to go on a public speaking stage in my pajamas, but like we all have different levels and versions of ourselves, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
And like when I want to pull out that speaking, like confident Whitney version, I know what to do, but it doesn't mean I need to do it every day.
Yeah.
To make an impact and add value.
Absolutely. Well, and I was thinking as we were kind of talking through like how you actually kind of put together content and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
being an online brand takes so many different like hats and you have to know how to do so many different things and it takes so
Yes.
much time and takes
Yeah.
so much energy. And I think that's why a lot of people like struggle even starting it or doing it because it's
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much work goes into this.
It's so overwhelming.
It's so overwhelming. You're like trying to like make sure that you have pictures and videos all the time and like doing behind the scenes things and like then you have to edit it and then you have to do this and then you have to do that. And what are some of your tips or like time saving things that
Mhm.
you use to
Mhm.
kind of make that all easier?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned it earlier, but really repurposing. Like I have a theme for the week and I'll like what is my theme for this week? I think I'm doing like oh, I'm talking about promoting your brand online actually. So, oh,
Perfect.
my daughter just kicked me really hard. Her
Oh.
so I'm like, okay, promoting your brand online. So this is what I'm going to do in my podcast episode. And then I do like actually how to do this step by step in a Facebook group, put those all out there. I do a carousel about it. And then I'll do like a short reel about it. But so I've found like creating like a weekly theme and then doing content based off of that is like really helpful. But even just starting somewhere and staying consistent, like even if that's like 3 times a week or so, just like starting to put things out there and really start testing and seeing what kind of content formats you even like to do. Like when I was going through this Instagram course, it was like, okay, go super heavy on like the short reels that are like 4 to 5 seconds. And I honestly found kind of forcing myself to do that. I had a really hard time and it took more time than me doing a talking head video. And for me, like those are actually what I resonate with the most. And that's just been after experimenting and after feeling like, okay, I'm not going to be stuck in a box anymore. Like, if I want to go do talking head videos, I'm going to do it because I honestly find that to be the easiest. Like, I'll just think of like a question maybe my audience is asking, or I got in a Facebook group and I'll literally answer it or talk about it or be like, okay, this is what's really helping me. And I have my like little like puff mic and I'll like do
Mhm.
the like green screen. Like, I'm really into those. And so it's kind of just experimenting and seeing like what you even want to talk about, but kind of mentioning them before, like getting your content pillars, like at least some of the topics you want to like start going into, and then start experimenting with different formats because there's so many different formats you can do. And then just trying to stay consistent with like how many times a week you do it to hold yourself accountable, but don't like overextend. And also another part of this is getting like either, a coach or a social media mentor, strategist, somebody to help you because it is extremely overwhelming on your own trying to create things and be like, what do I post? Like, what do my captions need to be like? What do I need to do with this? And just doing a lot of like even just storytelling in the beginning, like about your business, what your mission is, what it means to you, why you're doing it, who you want to help. Even just getting a little bit of like that mission out there is super helpful in the beginning because people can start to resonate with your brand through like why you're doing this for them and who you're serving, who you're trying to help. But I don't know. There's days that I still feel overwhelmed by it because it's just social media is a freaking beast, man, and doing it on all the platforms especially. So that's why I really say to start with Facebook. So then you're at least starting with like one thing where you know like all your ideal clients are like in these groups, finding the right groups and starting to provide value, answering comments, seeing like is somebody actually looking for a coach doing what you're doing already, because you can just message them and like it's kind of straightforward versus Instagram, you're finding people through like hashtags or the explore page. It's a lot less, it's a lot harder to make that connection of like what that person actually is looking for and what they need versus what you can give them. Your content has to be way stronger to pull people to your account. And there's just a lot more that goes into that for like a beginning creator. Like I wish I didn't even like touch that for like a while. And then same with TikTok. Like TikTok is really good if you want to do those talking head videos and be like super honest and authentic and just like get your message out there. But it's not everybody's style. You know, they all have like a different cult like language. They all have a different language. So you just have to figure out what language you want to use. But I find on Facebook I can use all the languages and post in groups, and it's been the most successful by far for me.
Nice. I like that you use groups. I don't think I've ever used them, but I could see how, like, in a coaching business, it could be super helpful.
Yeah.
So for me, I definitely don't like doing the talking head videos, not my style.
It's not for everybody, you know,
Yeah.
you just have to test it. But your B-roll reels are really nice. Like I
Yeah.
have such a hard time with them, and every time I post one, I kind of like hate it. And like, this is just not for me.
Which I like.
So,
I
yeah.
travel a lot with my partner and stuff, so I have always got like a million of the like kind of B-roll videos. So I'm like,
Right?
this will be my style. Plus, it's
That's
like,
great.
this pretty aesthetic of like traveling
Yeah.
and all of the things. And so that's kind of more my style. And I tend to like, when I go on like a trip or something, I'll have like a million pictures or videos and I just like start saving them into my drafts. And then as ideas pop up, I'm like, hey, this would be a really great video for this topic. And then I can like put it together super quickly. And then I like save like probably like 70 drafts, and then I kind of have like a pattern that I follow. So instead of doing like the week long theme like you do, my pattern is just like I'll do one of each kind of pillar of my business over the week. And so it's
Mhm.
like, okay, I've already done this one, this one, and this one. I can do like motherhood, or I can do mental health, or whatever it is, and then I just know that that's kind of the topic that I need to go with for that day, and I can just scroll through my drafts, find one
Yeah.
that fits the vibe for that week and put it out there.
Yeah, if you're somebody that does something like that, like travels or gets out or has like those are so prime, like to use stuff in your daily life with just like really good like copy over it. But for me, I honestly feel like I do the same thing like almost every day and like don't go out a lot. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, for me, the vibe is like a talking head video where I'm just explaining something because I'm around and I'm like, well, maybe someone will learn something from this.
Right.
So
But
it's just that
that's what I'm saying is
experimentation,
like
you know?
it's very authentic for you,
Yeah,
authentic for me, and it can
right?
show up in very different ways, and our
Mhm.
feeds can look completely different and still be true to us and our brands.
Yeah, 100%. I love that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot though. It
It
is a
is a
lot.
lot. I'm
Yeah.
like, I have like so many different apps and things that I'm having to
Mhm.
use to like, cut videos and do
Yeah.
captions and like,
I just feel like I get kind of annoyed with experts sometimes that make it look like so easy and don't really tell like new entrepreneurs like how overwhelming it is and how complicated it can be, and just I just feel like there's a lot of like false expectations sometimes. And so on my account at least I really try to keep it real with like this is hard, like I struggle with this too, you know, and or a lot of times like going through the same thing. Like I'm even in a mastermind with somebody that's like a 7-figure entrepreneur and she's like, I hate talking head videos. You do them so well. Like, please help me. Like we're all just going through like something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
No, it's so true. And it's, again, refreshing to see that, we're all struggling, whether we're just starting out or we've been doing it for years. Like it's
There's
still a
always
struggle.
something.
There's always something.
Yeah, there's always something we're trying to like figure out, or like right now I'm in a very much like building season, trying to figure out podcast growth, trying to get a course started, doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Always a change, always something going on over here.
right. Seriously.
Yeah.
So how do you go about like building your courses or your coaching programs or something like that and like determining, okay, this is the need that I see, and now how do I bring it into an actual like marketable and profitable like get like something that I'm giving away, whether it's like, workbooks, coaching, podcasting, whatever it is.
This is so good. Okay, so in regards to courses, this is actually going to be my first course ever I have built. So
Cool.
I'll have to do a follow up later and let you know. But for right now, what I'm thinking is because it's going to be all about how to help new mompreneurs start their own coaching business from scratch and get their first client. So basically, it's going to be the start to end, like everything you need to know. So a lot of it is just built on what do I wish I would have had when I was going through that? What questions did I have? I'm literally in my Facebook asking, like, okay, when you guys were first starting, what were the questions you had? Like getting that market research down and really providing like a framework. It's like a 5-step framework, like start to end, at least. That's what it's going to be. Uh, and that's what I did in my freebie. So I did the freebie, like these are the absolute 5 steps you need to start a coaching business and get your first client and start making money online.
We
And I
need
give
that
away, I'll give it to you. But I have like the entire framework for it and I'm literally giving people it for free. And then also with the course, it's just going to be like a more detailed version of that, plus like some other things that are going to be very beneficial to help you get there because obviously it's going to be a paid product. But a lot of the frameworks are the same, right? It's like where do you start? Where are your people starting? Where do they want to end? So that's why it's like such a clear, tangible result. Like you're starting from nothing and you're getting your first client and making money from your first client. So it's like all the things that you need to know, like start to finish in between, and really just building out that framework. Like, what do you wish you would have had? What do people actually need? What can I teach? What is like what kind of supplemental materials do they need from that? And just kind of like building from there. So that's my plan with building the course right now.
Yeah, I love that. I always tell people, and like we've talked about it probably a million times on this podcast, but like the best ideas, products, services, whatever, come from our own personal struggles because we've got the insight into
Yeah.
what that problem is and all of the steps that go through it. And it's just like, okay, how can I take the time that it took me to figure this out and reduce it so that I can make it quicker and easier for whoever it is that I'm serving?
That's exactly what this is going to be because I started with a different coaches program, actually a couple of them with like how to start a coaching business, and I still found myself during these programs being like, this is not helpful, or this is not answering my question, or I wish I could answer or ask a coach this question right now. So I'm going to be taking a lot of those experiences that I learned through other materials and just making it my own and making it, I hope, even better and more beneficial and at a good price point that more people can afford to at least start a coaching business. And then once they're like ready to get serious, either have like, I'm thinking about adding in like a group coaching, a mastermind one-on-one, building off of that course. So then they can have that like support and guidance as they're going through it, depending on how high touch and what their budget is. So that's kind of the plan with it right now. But yeah, I just, with this type of course, it's something that I repeat over and over again, like the same concepts, it's the same steps. Like obviously I'm learning new things constantly that I share, But at the end of the day, like the steps and the concepts that you need, at least to start, are really not that complicated. It's just having the right steps to start because
Yeah.
you don't want to get distracted with like a million things going on if you really want to get serious and like
Yeah.
get your
Well,
first client.
that is a really good point. Like, I feel like there's so many coaches, so many books, so many ideas, so many podcasts out there that are all telling
Yeah.
you a million different ways to do the same exact thing. And it's like, how do we pick and choose like what we're actually using, what we're actually doing, what, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like what experts are telling us we should be doing, you know.
It's so
How do
hard.
we
That
do
is another difficult thing. Like coming into the space, it's very overwhelming. It's hard to navigate, which is literally why I'm creating a whole platform around helping new mompreneurs in online business because it's so overwhelming. And that's why I have a mix of guests that come in and talk about like personal development stuff, but also business strategy, because you also need to take care of yourself. You need to still take care of your family and you need to grow a business. So that's why I kind of encompass all of that.
Mhm.
But that's why I literally want to be this resource for people because I didn't have that. I couldn't find anybody like that. And everyone was so like far down the road, like 5, 10 years, and they didn't understand what it was like to start day one again and like what you need and to just like keep it simple and like the step by steps you really need. So that's why I'm really trying to be that for people.
Well, and I tell people all the time, I'm like, find the people that are where you want to be and doing the things that you want to do and are
Mhm.
similar to you in like where they're at in life because
Yeah.
you know, it may be easy for a 50-year-old man to tell me to wake up at 4:30 every morning and work out and do this and do that.
Right.
Like, that is not attainable for me as a single mom. Like, I don't have a home gym. Like, I am not a morning person. So that is not attainable for me. But if I hear like, you know, a mompreneur that's a single mom that is, you know, trying to do everything and she says, just do it when you can do it. Okay, that sounds more attainable for me. You know, I can go to the gym at midday while my son's at school and I have a
Mhm.
break from work. You know, like
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
attainable.
100%. I love that what you mentioned because choosing like a coach or a mentor who's in a similar like life space, like especially if you are a mom doing this business, that's why a lot of my content is around moms because our life looks a lot different and we need things to be a lot more simple, at least in the beginning, to not be overwhelmed because we're already dealing with a million things. Like, I'm not trying to bombard you with too much information. Like, even this course, it's going to be simple, but very like, this is what you need to do and what you need to focus on, just like the freebie. And I've had so many people be like, thank you for this because there's just not even like how to start from scratch like out there. It's all like, okay, make 6 figures, make 7 figures. Okay, but what about like the literal basics of like starting everything that we're all still like always trying to improve on, you know? Like I'm still trying to improve my marketing, my messaging. I don't claim to make 6 figures. Like I'm not out here shouting all this stuff that I don't actually do. Like, but these are the things that I have done that have actually helped me that I want to like help you get there faster at least than I did and do it right from the beginning.
Yeah. I love that so much. Well, this has been such an awesome conversation. I feel
I
like
know, so fun. We covered so
about
many things.
a lot of different things, but it's all super helpful and it's been super fun. If you do the chat GPT thing, message
Let
us
us
and let us
know.
know. But tell us where we can find you, what you got going on, how we can work with you, all of the things.
Yeah, so follow me on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook at the Bold Mama Co. Or under Whitney Gardner. And I will give the freebie away for how to start your coaching business in 5 steps and make money online and get clients, even as a new mompreneur. So I'll include that. And then listen to my podcast, Bold Mama Boundaries. And like I said, I'm in the middle of a lot of like re-niching, but it's going to be basically how to thrive in business and in life as a new mompreneur.
Love it. So many good things, so many good free stuff that you guys can go and
Yeah,
grab.
lots of
So
and my Facebook community. That's another free thing. So I have 3 free things.
free things. Say that 5 times fast.
Three things.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for, just helping out our community and giving us so many good tips and tools. We appreciate it. Thank you, Whitney.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us today on the Mompreneur Podcast. And if you like this episode as much as we did, give us a follow so we can invite you back every Wednesday. And of course, share it on all your socials. Being a confident mompreneur means uncovering your strengths and struggles so you can dive in and learn how your next steps could be your greatest.